Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
And welcome to Hollybush. I'm Freya.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here this week to have a little bit of a look at the mini beasts that we've got around Hollybush, because this week is Insect Week from the Royal Entomological Society. Yeah. Good start to the day. So Insect Week. So we thought we'd take a look at some of the insects and other mini beasts. We'll probably look at some things that aren't insects as well around the different habitats that we've got around the Hollybush site. Yeah. We've got quite a lot of sort of habitats that we've shown you over the live streams over the weeks, and we'll have a look in some of why they're important.
Yeah, and also all the mini beasts that we'll be showing you, even if they're not insects, they're relevant to insects because they probably eat a lot of insects as well, or feed insects. Yeah, all one big food web. Yeah.
Should we?
Yeah. So the meadow that we've shown you all year round, actually, this year. So in the winter it was pretty barren looking, and now it is a jungle. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's coming into flower now. These large geraniums here, and it will. So this is going to just get more and more full of flowers over the summer. It is a summer meadow, so we're only actually a couple of days into summer now. The 21st of June is the equinox. So that's when it's the day length the same. No, it's the solstice prayer.
Yeah, it was two days ago. Was the summer solstice. Well. Yeah.
So that's when the night is its shortest and the day is its longest. So that was the 21st, and that means we're officially in astronomical summer. I think some people use meteorological summer at the start of June, and astronomical summer is the 21st of June. So whatever your measure of summer, we're definitely in summer now, and you can really tell it with the insects. All these bees, which will probably have some sort of hive or nest set up, and they'll be now collecting pollen and taking it back to their young. So if you built a bee box from one of our live streams, then your solitary bees will be going and filling it up and feeding the larvae, filling it up with pollen and things. And it is just teeming. I think Alex is catching some shots of some of the bigger things, but there's just swarms of little flies and things. So we've got the bees, which are the most, here's one of our honey bees, charismatic of the pollinators. But there's loads and loads of other things that pollinate, like wasp species, hoverflies, loads of beetles. Some birds.
Birds do, yeah. We'll wander around.
This is just a demonstration of why these meadow habitats, even if you can only do like a small little meter squared or something in your garden, you still just have to add this really species-rich bit of habitat to your garden.
This bee, I don't know if you can pick it up on your screens just then, but its little proboscis-y tongue was coming out into all the little flowers. Yeah.
So this is a common hogweed, this umbellifera that they've got on there. So we actually more of that than we might want in our meadow, but
oh wow, there is a beautiful
hello mate
green
under the beautiful bit of bindweed.
Yeah. Hold on, the camera can't really focus in on
we've
it.
got a couple of flies here as well.
There we go. Not 100% on what it is. It's not an assassin bug, but I don't know what it is.
A couple of flies there. Oh, very good eyesight.
Yeah. They see things in slow motion, don't they? So.
And then we head down towards our next habitat,
which is our pond at the bottom of the meadow. So we've got two ponds here. There's the Woodland Pond that we're going to go up to in a minute. This pond here is our meadow pond, and you might be able to see lots of things flying around. There are loads of beautiful damselflies. They've got this sort of jet black body, and these ones have got a blue head and a blue tip at the end of their tail as well. Really beautiful.
A lot of people actually then they call them dragonflies, don't they? Come back round.
Yeah, so a lot of people mix up dragonflies and damselflies. The dragonflies, their wings, they can't fold them up behind their body, whereas the damselflies, they can fold their wings up behind them. And obviously they do vary in size, but dragonflies tend to be bigger. Although that's not a set rule, you shouldn't always go by that. There's these beautiful bronze beetles here as well.
Oh yeah.
They are beetles, but I don't know what species specifically. Sort of bronze rose beetle or something, maybe. See if I can get in close to this damselfly by its flying off.
So these hot sunny days, it's just the perfect weather to go out and look. When it's hot, it's still, it's dry. It's just the perfect time to go out and do a little Minibeast hunt and just see. Yeah, if you've got an area with lots of flowers, then that's a really great place to go and look. A pond or a meadow. This is comfrey we've got here. So this is Russian comfrey, which is great. It's great for making natural fertilizers. It's a really useful thing to have in your garden. But the bees absolutely love it.
Yeah, they go crazy for it.
And if it's sort of taking over a little bit, just sort of cut it down, some of it down to the base, just to thin it out. Don't dig it out, that kind of breaks up the root. But you can control it a little bit and make some comfrey tea fertilizer out of it, but then just keep a good amount so the bees can swarm all over it. Should we go around and have a look at this nettle rust?
Yes. Oh, yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, we were doing a walk around the site, and Hazel and one of our VOs, I think it was Nige, noticed a strange bit on one of the nettles. We were quite confused. We didn't know what it was. I thought it was a bit of orange peel that someone had put on, but this here.
It'll be coming from this side.
It's got the. I get careful not to rub my hand up against the nettle.
So apparently it's called nettle rust.
You see, it's just a nettle plant, sort of bent over at this hinge point here.
I don't know if it's snapped and then it's got an infection, or if it's gotten the rust. It's a fungus, isn't it?
Mm.
As if that's got in and then it's caused the bending. You can kind of see it's bent the whole thing over, and then the nettle comes back down here and is kind of trying to grow back up. It's doing all right, isn't it?
There you go. It's coming down here, goes back up again. I think it looks. I mean, this part of the nettle looks healthy, and it's after that
flower.
Yeah.
Yes. Not an insect, or indeed really a Minibeast. It's I think a fungus, or is it a slime mold? I guess some sort of fungal.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I've just spotted that as well. So here you go. If you've got roses in your gardens, you probably know what these are.
So these are aphids. So these ones are a sort of a black aphid. You get loads and loads of different species of aphids. Actually...
Oh, and underneath the leaf, we've got here something that will be loving the aphids in a little bit. So this blurry, there you go. That there is a Ladybird Larvae. They come in all different sort of colours. This one here is black with orange stripes down its abdomen.
There's lots of different species of ladybird, isn't there? But the aphids are really cool. So you'll see you get these massive you just end up with loads of them all in one go. And if, like Alex saying, if you get them on your roses, you'll be like, where did they all come from? I didn't have any, and now I've got millions. And what happens is one will be flying. So they've got ones which have wings, and which kind of known as green fly. Quite often the green ones are, but you get other little ones. So they fly, and they basically find a good food source. They land on it. They don't actually even land on it. They kind of just stop flying when they see a green patch and fall out of the sky, then find the thing, land on it, and they actually reproduce clonally once they've landed and they've found a spot.
Asexually, yeah.
Yeah, they'll clone themselves. So they'll actually already have loads of baby clones of themselves ready to go. So as soon as they've found a good food source, they just produce loads of replicas of themselves. And the ones that they produce when they're on a plant don't actually have any wings. So they'll produce loads and loads and loads of wingless clones that will then munch away on your plant. They'll exploit as much of it as they can, as you might have noticed if they're rinsing all of the energy out of the plant. And then if the food store starts running out, if they're wanting to move on for some reason, then they'll reproduce. I think at that set phase they might do some sexual reproduction, but they'll produce some with wings, and then the ones with wings will then fly off, and then they will find a new food source, and then they'll do the same process again. So they're very cool. They're a nuisance, but they do have a really interesting and quite unique way of life cycle. And it is cool because I'm saying they stop flying. They kind of fly up into the air and then let the air movement move them. So they don't. So they basically just flap their wings enough that they're floating, and then the air currents carry them. And sometimes they've got high up enough that they've got into the jet stream, which is sort of the big air currents that are really high up in the sky. And they've found ones that have just found their way to like Svalbard or something, where they find them sort of, how did this aphid get here? And they've basically just gone off into the jet stream and been like, whee!
On Wednesday last week, I went up to Ingleborough, and when I was at the top of that mountain, there were aphids around there, and it's you know, away from most plants. There's moss and lichens and things, but
yeah, because you think, how did they fly this far? But they didn't fly that far. They're
just getting carried.
They flew up, and then they get carried. They just hitchhike in the air currents, basically.
I think one of my favourite things about aphids is when you find the ants farming them as well.
Oh yeah,
it's so cool. So if you've got a lot of aphids on a plant, you'll usually see lots of ants scurrying around as well, and they'll move aphids around to farm them, like we do with, you know, chickens and cattle.
We go off and have a look in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Is my microphone working? I'm
not sure. Hazel will let us know. Oh yeah.
We've been watching the foxgloves near the building all morning, and they've just had bees going up and down into the little bell-like flowers. This is quite a nice white one. I don't know if I need this.
There's lots of little wispy, tiny little insects flying around. I don't think the camera's picking them up, but I think there's lots of tiny little things flying around. It could just be pollen as well. The pollen count is very high today.
Alex is very sneaky.
Yeah, I'm suffering from a little bit of hay fever today.
So yeah, the ponds and meadows. It's a good opportunity to have a look for Minibeast. You can just go out and have a look like we have been. Or it's also, you can get a net or something, even if it's just a garden, like a household sieve, and just run it over the top of the plants, and you'll actually quite likely catch some things, knock them on some paper, and it's a great way to have a closer look.
The finer the mesh weave is, the more things you'll catch.
Last year we did one on tree shaking as well, which is another sort of way, if you get a blanket and stand under a tree and give the tree a shake. But let's move to this pond, because this pond is at the moment our Minibeast crowning.
I might head over to the other side.
Yeah.
To see if I can catch some of the things. So, if you've watched our live streams religiously, you'll have noticed that we're fond of doing a pond dip live stream, and this pond here is our Woodland Pond. It is absolutely teeming with tadpoles at the moment. I mean, oh, there you go. There's one on the surface there.
So this pond's quite shady, so it doesn't have much plant life in it, because we're in quite deep shade here with trees all around. But it does have algae in it. Like when there's a sunny day, it does get algae blooming in it, and it's got tiny frog tadpoles that are eating all of the algae and eating all the stuff in it. So there's obviously plenty to survive. I think last week there were hundreds, and they were enormous. So I think quite a few of them have probably emerged now, I guess.
Yeah, well, a lot of these ones that keep bobbing up to the surface, they have got their hind legs already.
Yeah. So these little froglets. The froglets probably emerged a bit over the last week.
We're in the process of getting some camera traps as well, so keep your eye out on our social media, and we'll try and put up some clips.
All in the pond. Have a look down here. You've got loads of bloodworms.
Oh yeah. Oh, lovely.
Good stuff here.
If you've got goldfish, when you go on holiday, you might buy some tablets with bloodworm eggs in, and they produce these, which are like a teeming mass.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen them in the wild. You buy them from the market in little bags of squiggly worms. I used to have a pet axolotl, and you just sort of feed them.
Slurping them up like spaghetti.
They'd all land on his head, and then he wouldn't know what to do, and then he sort of noticed them and just hoovered them all up in one go.
They're all over the place.
Do you know what fly they're the larvae of?
I don't actually know. No.
Hazel is our tech support in the comments, so could you have a Google of what bloodworms are the larvae?
I just saw the newt come up to the surface, pretty close to us.
The sun was just coming through the gap when we came up this morning having a look around. The sun was just the water surface in the right way, so the wildlife in this was particularly good. I think we walked up and saw about 4 newts all at one time, and oh wow! Hope the camera can see through the water because it is a little bit murky.
I can see them when they come to the surface.
Yeah.
You see that one there in the centre of the screen now, swimming around that stick at the surface as well. But yeah, I mean it's teeming with life, this pond.
Oh, these fly larvae there. They're everywhere. Cool.
Yeah, it's wonderful. There's lots of pond skaters as well. I don't know if you can catch them on your screens as well. We've got a little tadpole here coming over to try and
Hiya, mate.
check us out.
How are you doing? How are you?
I think this time of year is really nice to go out in nature, mostly because the weather's nice, but also because just the life. I mean, then you saw there were like, I think, 5 to 10 tadpoles all came up at the same time to glub a bit of something.
It was exciting to see it, but also, yeah, just watching them for 5 minutes. It's just really relaxing, isn't it? We keep doing, with the groups and things, we keep going about volunteering in the woods, and then just every time we walk past here, we'll end up just tadpole watching for 5 minutes. Should we go up and have a look at
Yeah,
the new?
they've hidden away from us.
They're not playing the game, are they?
They'll come up as soon as we walk away.
But we'll try and fish out the clip where we caught a male smooth newt in one of our live streams. That was a pretty amazing close up, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you see the surface of the water looks like it's lots of sort of circular ripples on the surface. It's the pond skaters that are.
I think just hold it still for a minute. It's quite nice to watch, isn't it? With the reflection of the leaves above it and all the ripples. Imagine it being the backdrop to a relaxation YouTube video. Have you got that new? You see it?
Just under the surface, I think the reflection of the.
So that's a male. You can see because it's got, if you can see, it's got the broader, more fan tail.
No, you can't quite catch it on the screen. There is one there though.
Right. Leave the murky pond.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then if you've got a deep shady garden, so that's an example of it is still worth having a pond because things do still live in it and it does still have wildlife value. But other things, a meadow and like that summer pond we looked at first, they need full sun, but a lot of people's gardens don't have full sun. But there's still loads we can do for habitat. So in here we've got our sort of mini beach area where we've got our fernery. We've looked at this a few times. It really is looking.
It's bloomed this past couple of weeks, hasn't it? Really, like it's really sprung to life.
It has, and it's full of the ferns. We've got these rocks. I think this is something that's just worth having a look at when you're looking for mini beach. You always want to bear in mind that, much like how if you're in your house, you don't like having your roof ripped up and a giant finger coming in and poking you. Mini beasts don't like that either. So generally approach it just really slowly, really cautiously. We don't want to injure anything or disturb the habitat, but just finding a log or a rock, there's going to be nothing under here now, because this is where it will be damp, it'll be humid, there'll be
the centipede there.
Centipede, is that a millipede?
Yeah, there's two
snake millipedes.
Two millipedes there, yeah.
We've got a worm.
There's another millipede next to it as well.
And just get, I mean, and you can see all of this. This is all the frass. So this is, for want of a better word, droppings. Yeah, it's called frass. And this is just the sign of just how much life there's been under here. It's what all of these little casings are. And I mean, you can see at the bottom of this as well. Oh, we've got this little snail. But just all of this, this log's being eaten alive. I'm not alive, it's very dead. It's really very dead, Freya. But it's being eaten by all of these genderphile wood-eating to get away from the heat, if they're able to rest. And it's just a really great way to just come and have a look and see. So yeah, these snake millipedes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Really cool. The millipedes they're totally herbivorous. Centipedes.
So they only eat plants.
Yeah. Like centipedes do eat other little critters, yeah.
And then when you pop this back, just use both hands and just really gently roll it back. So the things that were under there before, like there was space for them when you lift it, there's space for them when you put it back. Just make sure you put it back gently. Don't shove it back on the ground. And
it's back pretty much exactly how it was as well.
Yeah, so the space where everything is.
There's not much under that one, I don't think.
Okay.
Another centipede.
And this is another thing, like trying not to. Another one, but it's a different one.
Is it a millipede actually? I think that's a millipede.
Yeah.
So the
different type of millipede.
Yeah. Oh, it's very brown.
Yeah. This is a brown thing on a brown floor in the shade. Okay. And yeah, so we've got this, which is the dead wood area. So this is all decaying wood, and we're actually going to refresh it with some less rotting wood, but we'll also leave the older stuff because as it breaks down, and if you come back here and look at these ones that are just covered in moss and covered in, I'm not going to lift them because they're.
No, I don't think you'd be able to. I think they're just like mulch now, aren't they? Really.
But as it's decaying, it's just forming this nice. It'll have loads of air pockets as the wood's disintegrating, and that'll just provide loads of great habitat for things to live in. And it's just a lovely. I mean, all of this, just having all the ferns and things. I don't know what it is like in a woodland with lots of that. It just has that sort of humid, kind of fresh feel to the air, doesn't it?
Mm. Yeah. Well, if you've got a fern plant at home, a lot of them prefer sort of misting rather than watering right at the root, don't they? So they prefer humid environments.
And this is where we've got our hedgehog boxes sort of hidden away in the corner here.
Yeah. So they can come out and eat all the little mini beasts.
They can eat all the plants.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've got a deep space garden, you really can have quite a lot of things living in it and quite a lot of stuff for habitat. We've also got these rocks around here. So you're digging up old rocks so you found some insects.
There is something. It's just a blur. Sorry.
A lot of people will be digging up old stones in their garden. And you can make really nice rockery beaches with them, and all the gaps in between this will just be absolutely full.
Is that strawberries in there?
Yeah.
Look at that. That's.
Don't tell people where the secret strawberry.
I've been here for what, 2 years, and I've never noticed the fact that we've got all these strawberries.
We can keep the secret from you, Alex. Oh, we've got
Woodlice. Oh, I love woodlice.
How many species of woodlice are there? That's something for Hazel, Captain Google. How many species of woodlice are there?
I think they're really cool as well because they are sort of an ancient animal, aren't they? They're one of the most.
And they're not an insect, so
yeah,
they are crustaceans. One of the only groups of land-dwelling crustacean. There's actually quite a lot of species of them, and they are one of. Yeah, I need to let you lift the rocks. So you're getting closer, because what happens quite a lot of the time is you need to be quite prepared because things
skit away, don't they, really quick. Yeah, you got one there, just finding a nice little crack in the rocks. Lots of tiny little things running around this rock. Beautiful. There we go. And then
you don't have a garden. We're saying if your garden's got deep shade, you might not have a garden. A lot of people don't have gardens. But there will probably be a park. You don't even need that big a park, do you? Like, if you look along walls at the roadside, just going out and spending the time on the flow, looking for the mini beasts and stuff that's out there, you'll be surprised when you're looking just how much you see. And when you look close at them, rather than just being like, oh, fly. When you look close, there's so much variety and so much like different things behaving differently in different places.
Wow, okay, here we go. There are 3,637 species of woodlice worldwide. There's 35 native UK species.
Well, you get the pill ones, don't you, which are the ones that roll up in a ball and kind of play dead, and then you get the other ones that I didn't realise quite how many there were until recently.
There's those tiny little pink ones as well that are quite nice. Have you seen those?
Yeah. Should we?
We can wrap it. We'll finish it on the pond.
Oh, should we get where the buttercups were? Where there were all of those damselflies earlier.
Oh yeah. Where was that? Was that
just by the
bedroom? There's a council estate near me, and they don't have gardens, but there's quite a big woodland area behind there, and I think it must be some of the kids. They've gone and they've made their own sort of mini beast habitats in the woodland. They've got lots of piles of things that have been purposefully put there. Oh, here we go. We've got a teasel here.
Teasel is something that is quite good. It's really good for goldfinches.
We have a question from Hazel. Do you have a favourite mini beast?
Oh,
I think mine changes week by week, but I've got a woodlice are probably one of my favourite mini beasts. They're really photogenic, I think.
So the teasel, they're great for goldfinches. I'm not good at being put on the spot. I don't really do favourites.
Damselflies are quite pretty.
I do like damselflies.
Rose beetles are beautiful.
I have least favourites. Like, I definitely don't like clothes moths.
I'm not a fan of aphids.
But even aphids, like, I don't like them when they're eating my veg, but I do. I love their life cycle.
There's one here that's caught in a spider's web.
So this is why I was showing you the teasel. It has these puddles in it that actually entice things into it, and they will.
We can see the water's going very brown because there's lots of dead, decaying. They capture things, and
they're almost. They're not like a Venus flytrap, but they are a semi-carnivorous plant. I'm catching Alex's hay fever, sounds of it.
Yeah, this water a couple of weeks ago was very clear, and there weren't many things in there. There were lots of little insect bodies floating around there.
Kill things in it. Nature.
We'll finish up on here. Earlier on, there were on these buttercups. There were loads of damselflies, but we saw them earlier at the pond. But again, even if you just got a patch in your garden that's that sort of size, what's that, 2 meters squared, you can just let it go wild over summer and it'll rise. There you go, a little moth, sheltering from the shade.
If you want any resources for Minibeast hunting or have questions around it, we've got a lot of people that are very experienced in doing education days and things. So do get in touch and answer the Ladybird over here. I just like all of the Minibeasts.
I think Ladybird is quite a common favourite, isn't it? I think lots of people like Ladybirds. Finish up on the Ladybird, but yeah. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Say goodbye to the Minibeasts.